Thanks for your help, Grant. Appreciate it.
Grant, thank you.
You may begin.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is March 17th, 2021. This is the meeting of the City of Rehoboth Beach Environment Committee, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 11 a.m. Welcome. We have a full agenda and just a reminder that we have only 1 hour, and there are 9 of us on this morning, and we have 1 or 2 guests that may want to speak. And so we're going to have to be efficient. We're going to have to listen well and still be productive in our 1 hour. So I'm going to do a very quick roll call. When I call your name, please just wave and say here. Charlie Garlow. Yeah, you're muted, Charlie. Catherine Bergwin.
You're here.
Heather Metz. Nettie Green. Love the flowers, Nettie.
Oh, I'd rather look at them.
Good morning, Mary. Stuart Martins.
Here.
Janet Taylor Smith.
Here.
Good to have you with us this month, Janet. I know your time with us is kind of short going forward, but anything you can contribute, we greatly appreciate.
Thank you.
Kevin Carr.
Here.
And Kevin, good to have you with us. Our newest member, Monique Buckles, is unable to be with us, but she will continue on the committee. Just a very quick update. She was a resident and homeowner in the city. She is no longer a homeowner in the city. Her property sold. The property they were hoping to get was not available with the right timing and all that's going on in the crazy real estate market. So Monique will continue as a non-resident member, and essentially we'll kind of slide into Janet's vacant position. With that said, we are searching for an in-city resident or property owner or business person to come onto the committee. You maybe have noticed that the city did send out kind of an ad, so to speak, requesting membership applications on a number of our city committees, and the Environment Committee is one. So if you know someone in the city that you think would be a worthy member, would have an interest in the topics that we're discussing, please tell them to apply, and hopefully in the coming weeks we'll have some applications that we'll be able to take a quick look at. Thank you all for being here. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the February 24th, 2021 minutes. I believe you have all seen the minutes. Thanks to Catherine for just a wonderful detailed job of pulling those minutes together. It's greatly appreciated, Catherine. It's not an easy task, I understand. I think we all appreciate your good work. Is there a motion to approve February 24th minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments on the minutes? Okay, we will vote. All in favor, please wave your hand if you approve. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Fourth item on the agenda is correspondence. I have received no correspondence since our last meeting, so we don't have to spend any time on that. Next item is update from me as your chair. Like I said, we are searching for an in-city resident or property owner or business owner to join the committee. So that is going on. I will have some comments relevant to the agenda items as we go on, but I want to save those for the agenda items as they're most relevant. So with all of that said, and happy St. Patty's Day, let's get right into the agenda items, because I think we do have a lot to talk about. I did come out with assignments after the last monthly meeting. A few of you have commented that you appreciated that because it kind of kept us on track. It kept you on track. It certainly kept me on track in terms of a focus on trying to be productive. And while we can have wonderful, great discussions around these complex topics, we also need to get some things done. And I think we all agree on that. So people came through and did their homework. The first item is update, continued discussion on elimination of single-use plastic products with a focus on straws, and a review and discuss the drafts of table placard and review possible draft of a bring your own bag sign. So with that said, I'm going to call on several of you to give an update on things that you said that you would attempt to follow through on, and then we will kind of get into the meat of all of this. I know that we have a couple of guests with us. Jan Conacy is one. Jan, you're out there, I'm assuming, right?
Wait a minute. I'm here.
Okay, good. Thank you. I will do my best to remember to call on you here. If I forget, please jump in a little while. Director of Public Works, Kevin Williams, I believe is with us. He may have. Yeah, hi, Kevin. And if there's some things that you want to share as we go on, let us know, please.
Will do. Thanks.
Thanks so much for being with us and for all the good work you do. So I'm going to call on Nettie first, who indicated that she would follow through with a teacher or individuals at the Rehoboth Elementary School, particularly based on that teacher and some students' interest in the elimination of plastic straws several years ago, and to see where that is right now and if that can be helpful to our work. Nettie?
Okay. I hope the next door neighbors don't mess us up too much. They're cutting down lots of trees.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, yeah, it's very sad. But I got in touch with Rehoboth Elementary, and the contact person is Jackie Kissel. And it's JACQUIE, Jackie Kissiel, KISSIEL. And she is the teacher who, I think with a Mr. Ott, but he's not there anymore, but her class is the class that came before the commissioners. And she is very interested in working with us right now. I mean, I've even suggested that we have a brainstorming session on my porch after school. She's up for this, but has not responded. And I think she's just overwhelmed right now with going back to school and the whole COVID thing that teachers are having to deal with. But she is very interested in working with us. I am judging their science fair. They have a science fair that, and I have done this before, that is with plants, animals, chemistry, physics. All children submit things and do a Zoom. And I'm one of the judges, basically retired teachers, who is judging at the science fair. Again, it's an N. I don't think I'm going to get much more than an N right now. But I think she very much would like to work with us. And if you all have any suggestions, unfortunately, with the new school, they have taken out their raised beds and their garden, which I think is very unfortunate. But I think nobody was keeping it up. And I was just talking with Susan Morrison, who used to be on our committee, and she was suggesting that they could do things with bees and pollination and, of course, native plants and all kinds of things. So I really don't know. There are just many, many possibilities. So if you all have any suggestions of what I could suggest for them to do, but she is a very creative teacher. So I don't know. Do you all have any suggestions for what we'd like them to do? Of course, they could help us decorate recycling things and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I can think of a million things, but from
Nettie?
you.
I actually know Miss Kissel. She was
you do?
a teacher of a couple of my grandchildren.
Oh,
And I could talk to you offline, about this. She's very creative, very receptive. And you're right, it's probably just the time right now, things changing and stuff.
yeah,
But
thank
she
you.
would be highly receptive to anything.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Jen.
welcome.
Charlie?
I was thinking a suggestion, how they might help with plastic straws is to bring some or a representative sample of some of the students who are so cute and persuasive to another next gathering, if there is one, of the Chamber of Commerce, because they were such a hit with the commissioners. I would think the Chamber of Commerce, who's a key player, would be thrilled and persuaded by these children as well. That would be a good use of their communication skills.
So maybe when we present what we are presenting about the plastic straws, maybe they could appear at the commissioners' meeting?
At the Chamber of Commerce meeting, yes.
At the chamber meeting, yeah, okay. The chamber meeting, not the commissioners' meeting.
I can do both, but I was thinking the Chamber of Commerce is one that's sort of a key player, not necessarily sticking point, but a factor.
Do you know when their meeting is?
No, not right offhand, but I'm sure.
Okay, but I could get in touch with us. Okay, thank you, Charlie.
Yes, if the Chamber of Commerce wants to have the kids come to meet them.
This is, of course, true, right? And whether they can or not with Zoom stuff that's going on right now. So
Sure. Zoom would work.
yeah.
Nettie, thanks so very much. I certainly agree that it must be a very challenging time in the schools and for the teachers and the adult personnel, as well as for kids and parents. And so, it may just be worth a discussion with
Jack.
and ask her if there's things that she thinks that they might like to do that would fit in to their curriculum and to the learning that they're doing and into whatever time they have in the balance of this school year, which is really beginning to wind down.
Right.
And they're probably all very happy it's beginning to wind.
Exactly. And I also think if there's anything we could do to contribute to their learning about the environment, I think it could go both ways. It could be a win-win thing for them and for us. Yeah.
Okay.
Dick, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just would want to add that I don't know if you all know this, but SOLA also does something at the schools every year about water and the lakes and everything. And maybe, if you're looking, and we also give backpacks with SOLA on the back of them. You are, I don't think we're doing anything this year because of COVID, but if you ever wanted to do a joint thing, just let us know.
Great.
And for those of you that aren't aware, you just heard from Jan Conacy, who is not on committee, but she is a very activist resident in our city, involved in a lot of these good things, and is a board member of SOLA 3, the Save Our Lakes Alliance group. And so she and SOLA 3 have keen interest in all of these topics. Jan was one of the presenters a couple of months ago in the Dark Skies presentation and the discussion that we had. So that's great, Jan. Thank you very much. Let's move along and hear from Catherine, who reached out to MER and has received some good information from them. And Catherine, you're muted.
Hi, everybody. It's interesting because when I was first given this assignment, I said, well, why do we need Suzanne Thurman? Of course, she's going to support this, but she sent out, and I would ask Dick to send all that documentation to everybody. She sent a letter to the committee.
Yes, and I've not done that. So I will do that at the end of the meeting today.
Okay.
There's just been a lot coming in very quickly.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. She was busy. I was busy. She didn't get it to me, I think, until yesterday, maybe the day before. But anyway, she sent out a letter describing what MARE does, basically, and how many animals strand, and just giving some data about that, and some, some not highlights, but how some of these strandings are really quite awful. Honestly, the animals are suffering, and we just recently had to euthanize a seal, and stuff like that. She's an amazing woman. The more I know about her, the more impressed I am with her. But what she talked to, so the letter is nice, and then in the letter she has a picture of a loggerhead turtle that was rescued in the Delaware Bay, which is unusual, and that when it was necropsied, so that's like a dead animal, and they find out what's going on. It had 65 different types of plastics in its stomach. So she has that picture, but I think what's going to be most helpful to us as a committee is she also sent a document that bullets the effects of plastic on the marine environment. And I think that's really what we want as far as having some real concrete data to support why we're doing this in relationship to the marine life in our city. So
thanks, Catherine. I will get those two documents sent out right after the meeting today to the committee members.
One last thing, Dick, I'm sorry. She also said that if we would like her to come and present anything or talk to us about anything, that she's always more than willing to do that.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we have many allies out there that are very close by, working in the same geography that we're concerned about. And they are a stellar organization, like you said, and have been doing very good work for many, many years now. Additional comments on that? Okay, I want to go into the work that Charlie and Nettie and Stuart have been doing regarding investigating and looking at table placards and or other ways of communication with the general public. And then after we have that discussion, Mary, I'm not forgetting about you, and then we'll take a look at the bring your own bag, but I want to keep that kind of separate from this discussion around straws. So I don't know who's taking the lead. Charlie, are you?
Well, I think Stuart was really sort of our lead for straws generally. Stuart, do you want to go first?
Very good. Stuart, you're muted.
Whoops. It doesn't show me being muted.
No, you're fine now.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, so we were tasked with finding out the availability of placards, what kind of placards, if we could, to get some pricing on placards, et cetera, et cetera. So first of all, what we did, I had a conversation with Dee Durham. Dee Durham, a lot of us know, is the founder of Plastic Free Delaware. And we had a very good conversation. And Dee sent us, I think Nettie's holding it up, is a copy of, she sent us a bunch of samples, so I passed them on to Charlie and Nettie. So they've already got the placards made. It is a very good placard, and it's a local company, so it's a nonprofit. So if we were to buy them from them, we're not only helping ourselves in terms of the education. Education, we feel, is the #1 priority this year because of comments we've heard from the commissioners previously, and the fact that the chamber, Carol, has voiced an opinion that she would like to see this be voluntary as opposed to mandatory. So the thing that we could progress with the fastest would be education. So these placards, Dee sent us the placards. We've also been in contact. We had a conference call with Lonely Whale. Lonely Whale is probably a similar organization. They're trying to create awareness in the entire universe for eliminating plastics off the face of the earth. So they're going to send us some stuff. They have not as of yet, but they're going to send us some of their paraphernalia. And they do not have funding, but they may have some design ideas. Dee also connected me to Adam Schlachter. Adam Schlachter, some of you may know him. Adam is with DENREC. He's been with DENREC for over 27 years. And Adam is in charge of all of the recycling for the state of Delaware, I believe is what he told me. He's a very fast talker. He's a very fascinating character. And here again, I think he's a great potential for a future guest because he's not sure we're going on the right path with all the other plastics and styrofoam, which really shocked me. But Adam was very excited about what we're doing, said he might be able to help us, but he didn't know how. They have no funds whatsoever. DENREC has no funds for marketing or advertising. And unfortunately, they make paraphernalia for marketing. They had a whole thing made up for the paper bags. Somebody in the legislature didn't allow them to use it until the last 2 weeks. So the program was really not implemented properly because of a legislative snafu. But Adam is really interested. He talked about the idea of we've been talking about biodegradable and and compostable. He said you might as well forget the word compostable. Compostable is only if you have commercial composting facilities. And I think Dick, you've mentioned this previously. Delaware has no commercial compostable facilities, and in the near future has no intention because of the cost of doing anything. So compostable really doesn't help Adam in his recycling thing. He thinks the placards are a great idea. And that's where we are on that. So what I did is we did get a price on placards based on what the chamber had given us of 119 restaurants. 72 of them are sit-down restaurants, and they do not know the tabletops, but they do know that and then the others are counter service. So based on that information, I just threw a rough ballpark figure of about 2,000 of these placards that Charlie's got showing up. If we got 2,000 of these, and we got exact pricing because she buys very small quantities because based on budget. 2,000 of these placards would cost $1,225, or in other words, 61 cents a piece. Now on this placard, and Charlie, I don't know if you have it and you can show it, there's a piece of tape. So there's a piece of tape, and that's how you do it. And that's how you put the placard together so it will hold. But you can also put a slit in the paper and just put the piece of the paper through the slit, which makes it about 9 or 10 cents less expensive. So you get two routes to go, but basically, let's say it's 50 to 60 cents. And that's the cost of these placards. And I think they're very educational. They're very simple. Kids would see them and get into this. Parents hopefully would get on board and do the same thing. So that's what we've come up with. We could get them fairly quickly because they've already got a template. They've already made these placards. I have found the printing company. Dee gave me the printing company that made the placards. So we don't have to go through the process of having to re-put them on the printer and all from a brand new start and everything. So that's where we are on the placards. And I think it's something that we could potentially do by the beginning of this summer, by May, if we were to work quickly. So that's where we are, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Before we have questions and comments, and thank you, Stuart, that's great information. Let's go to Charlie, who has had some discussion, albeit fairly brief, with Carol at the Chamber of Commerce regarding her thoughts on all of this.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Nettie, for all the great work we're doing. Yes, I was lucky enough to get a couple of minutes of Carol's time. She's a very busy person, but showed her the sample tabletop deal and the spot down here on the backside where it has plastics free Delaware, bring your own bag sort of things along here. I even offered to say maybe the Chamber of Commerce Green Team, which has been sort of inactive, would like to have their logo here and maybe get some buy-in from the chamber if they see their name is on this. She said she thought it was very nice, but she was saying that she thought that it's entirely possible that restaurateurs would not like this because it's paper, and if a drink gets spilled on the table or food gets splashed when people are having a food fight or whatever, ketchup hits it, then you're going to have to be wiping it off. But wiping off paper with a moist rag is going to make this thing dissolve pretty quickly. So she had recommended actually that we might not want to use this version, but instead buy one of those. I'm sorry, I don't have a model here to show you. It's acrylic. It comes along like this, and then it goes up, and there's a slot down the middle, and you can slide in there or down from the top a piece of paper that could be the same graphic stuff, same interesting content, but it would be encased sort of within the acrylic and would be less likely to be splashed by wetness or food and could be wiped off more readily if that were the case, in which case that would cost us about $1.80 or maybe $2 per each. Times 2,000 would, make $4,000. Considerably more money. It also, means buying more plastic. I don't know. This is something we want to be in favor of, but if it does the trick and it is useful, that would be good. The other part of it is that this is yet another, as she put it, a burden on the restaurateurs to have to wipe off these things, and they probably already have. Well, there is state law talking about or mandate from the governor about wiping off tabletops, having only paper menus, so that if one customer touches it, it's not just there for the next customer to touch and get transmission of COVID-19 possibly. So that wiping things down is a major headache, if you will, for the restaurants. And if they had to wipe down this or the acrylic thing, that's one more thing to have to wipe down. So it's sort of throwing a monkey wrench on the idea of tabletop anything really, and might recommend that at least at first, perhaps we might want to not have any until COVID-19 is over, not have any tabletops, but just have a big sign at the front cash register or in the front window. And then when we don't have to worry about so much wiping down for COVID, then we could maybe roll out the stand-up acrylic thing or the tents. That's all for. There was more discussion, but that's the thrust of it.
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, let's have some discussion. Nettie?
I think it's, again, the plastics. I think that's a problem. And I think, of course, the state and many people are so into this surface thing, which is not the way most COVID is, as we know, scientifically is exchanged. It's through air stuff. I don't know. I spoke with Jan Conacy, and maybe this is a time. I thought, Jan, you had a lot of great suggestions, and maybe it would be. And Jan is very graciously saying that SOLA would be glad to help us monetarily with with having these. And so I'd like to hear Jan about her suggestions.
Okay, before we go to Jan, if you can hold off just a minute or two, please. Thank you. Stuart?
Yeah, I would, Charlie, you've probably read this thing way more thoroughly than I have. But I would like to see the governor's mandate where he says you have to wipe down stuff like those placards, because I did see where you have to they have to present single-use condiments, which really has got to increase the cost to these restaurateurs. I saw that. And I saw where they can't even bring stuff to you until you're seated. I saw a lot of stuff in there. And I was looking for something that said you had to wipe. I know you have to wipe down the table surfaces, that stuff, but I did not see where anything addressed placards in particular. And I think they've got this thing is very, very sophisticated, very complex. I didn't see anything like that. So I think that we would be okay to put the placards out and not have to put. And I get the acrylic. It protects them, and that certainly is a method. Another method may be to print these on there. Since all the menus have to be single-use menus in paper, another thing would be to print this message on the beverage section of the menu. But of course, so there's lots of different ways. That's a brainstorm session. But I did not see. So could you, when you get a chance offline, to point me to the direction where it says you have to wipe off these placards? Because I couldn't find it in there.
Well, it was talking about wiping down anything that other customers touch, whether that's a salt shaker, a pepper shaker, a ketchup bottle. That's why they're making them use individual packets of ketchup.
I get that.
Or plastic.
I get that. I'm just not sure that it has placards in it.
Well, if you're touching the placard, you're just like touching the ketchup bottle, and some people will be concerned that we're not wiping everything down with disinfectant. I think that was the theory behind that suggestion. In any event, yeah, we're going back and forth with a lot of these things for a year now. I sure hope we can get the yes. More of it.
Yeah. So, a key question, and this is one that Carol at the Chamber has raised, is that, before we expend anyone's money on this, we should have some assurance that some number of businesses are willing to put these out on their tables or somewhere in the restaurant. And, some restaurants, may be willing to have one only at the front, at the cash register or the reception area. Some may be willing to have something in the window. Some may be very willing to have one of these on each table. But we don't have any sense of that. And that's one of the things that Carol has brought up, that she is willing to do a very quick survey out to the restaurants and get some sense from them what their willingness is. Because we could print 2,000 of these and not have very many takers. So I think, it is important to ask, to reach out and inquire. And in so doing, that can be educational in and of itself. That's certainly saying to the businesses, we've listened so far. We understand, you're right now at this point, you're not ready for kind of a mandatory ban the straws, but here is a way to do some education. Stuart?
Yeah, my only comment, Dick, would be Carol indicated she wanted to do a survey, which, that's fine. We'd like to see the survey and review the questions before that goes out, which she did on the last survey. She allowed us to do that. And the other thing, putting a sign in the front door of a restaurant is mucking up the door, and kids don't tend to read it. And it is not POS. It's not point of sale. It's not point of purchase where the real education takes place. It takes place at the counter where the soda is distributed, or on the table where the people are ordering the beverage or whatever. So I'm very passionate about it being at the point of service. I think that's where the real, and of course also educating the servers at each restaurant. And of course that's an owner's job, but we could contribute to a workshop on that. But I think that POS is extremely important in this endeavor. That's a very important point.
And
Good.
Yeah.
Nettie, I see your hand
okay,
up.
I think also the operative word here is quick. I think it would be good, and I like the fact, Dick, where you said that she had just 2 questions that she was interested in. But I think to get out these 2 questions and find out and do it quickly, because whatever we do, if it's going to be effective, needs to happen, I think, like in May, at least, before the season begins. And and I'd be glad to help in any way, like going around, and I think most of us would, going around to the restaurants and asking or doing education or whatever.
Thank you. Before we go to Jan, any other comments from committee members
I was just going to say that
specifically? Janet?
I want to agree with Stuart on the point of sale, because as people are sitting there while they're waiting for their food or whatever they've ordered here, that's the perfect time when everybody reads everything that's on the table. That is exactly the time. Coming in the door, not so much. So absolutely on the table. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, see no other hands. Let's go to Jan Conacy.
Well, I talked to, thank you, Dick. I talked to Nettie earlier this week, and SOLA has been in communication frequently with Carol, and Carol did also talk to me about a survey, and to do a quick turnaround on the survey. We also talked about different ways of letting people know that, turtles are dying or whatever catchy thing that we wanted to use. And maybe Charlie, you could put one of those brochures in an envelope and I could pick it up at your house or something so I can share it with our board. But we had told Nettie that we would, and told Dick that we would contribute for the cost because we think it's so important. We would want to have, our name on the back of it, obviously. But I also agree that point of sale is where they need to go. And maybe if you're printing 2,000 of them, of the 72 sit-down restaurants, if you had one on every table, but they were paper and they just threw them away when they were finished. I mean, I agree. Kids sit there, I sit there and read what's on the table. Everybody does while you're waiting for your food. One of the things that Nettie and I talked about was all of the places that are not sit down, which is another 40 some places, 47, I guess. And we talked about stickers, and actually Carol brought that up, is maybe to make stickers that have the logo, the turtle and or whatever one wants to use. And those stickers can be placed, if you're up at a takeout window, they could be placed on the window. They might be bigger if the store owners are agreeable. Carol didn't know if they would be or not, but she thought that maybe that might be the way to go for the places where you just walk up to the counter, where lots of people go up to get a drink, and lots of people get, they get a drink at one place and their French fries at another. And there is no opportunity, for them to see anything unless it's visible while they're standing in line. There is no menu, there is no anything like that. So when I talked to Nettie, the kind of placard that we had thought about at SOLA was very similar to what Dee's group has. A short, catches people's eyes, the logo catches people's eyes, the turtle will catch, we had thought about a dolphin or a whale, but either one would catch people's eye, they'd pick it up, they'd start reading it, and it might persuade them not to have a straw. So that's really all I wanted to say. We just thought we have to be creative about the way we deal with this. And one of the things that you might first talk to is like Big Fish and Sodell, because of the number of sit-down restaurants both of those have. And it would really make, if you have their buy-in from the start, that may help.
Thank you, Jan. Okay. Stuart?
Yeah, the last comment I had, Dick, regarding and we talked about this last month, is regarding the training for servers is on the cash register, and this would be both for um, establishments that are sit down as well as those that are counter service to just serving to the sidewalk, would be on the cash register on the what they call the POS system to have an opt-in. So in other words, a customer would have to opt in for a straw instead of opting out of it. If you opt in where nobody gets a straw unless they opt in, well, I want a straw, that you'd here again reduce the number of straws being put out either on a counter or in a restaurant. So
Great, lots of good discussion. Really appreciate the support from SOLA 3. There may be others that would be willing to help finance, and I certainly understand that anyone that helps finance should have their name on the placard. What names are on that one, Charlie? What groups?
Plastic Free Delaware, Bring Your Own Bag, The Last Plastic Straw, and Plastic Pollution Coalition. I don't know those other folks very well, so we can easily replace them with SOLA or the chamber or whatever else we want to do.
Well, as always, I'm watching the clock. I guess that's my job to worry about time. And I do want to touch on a couple of other things other than this, but I think we need to determine if we can quickly kind of immediate next steps and not wait until our April meeting to determine next steps, if we can do that in the next couple of minutes.
The survey is our next goal.
Okay, Charlie, will you stay with Carol?
Yes.
On that, and with the idea that a couple of us, want to look at her 2 or 3 questions and have input, and we will promise her that we will turn that around kind of overnight, so to speak, so that we can move this ahead quickly. She did move the other one ahead very quickly and was very responsive.
Good, I'll do that.
Okay. Anything else we need to say on this before I go to Mary? Okay, thank you all. It is complex, it is complicated, it is bigger than we have time to really wrap our arms around. And so I appreciate our very short time doing this. Mary has investigated some, the idea of the bring your own bag sign. And I don't think we're gonna settle that today, but I want to give Mary a few minutes to talk about where she's at with this. And then I think that can become a big point of discussion at the April meeting.
Okay, so I guess it might have been in the materials, but I saw a sign in a small store in Newcastle County that the merchant on their own put up saying, we're not regulated by the new plastic bag law, but yet we still encourage you to bring your own bag. And then they stated their reasons. And so it occurred to me that a lot of times we think, well, it's we, the Environment Committee on one side and the business on the other. And I realized, actually a lot of these business people are every bit as concerned as we are about plastics. And so if this one individual is willing to do this on their own. And so I thought this was something that, and we're already asking for the straw placard. So I don't know whether, it's now we have another one, but since we had struggled for the past year about whether we could ask the businesses that didn't meet the square foot requirement, what could we do about them and plastic bags? And we were thinking of doing a fee thing and some other things. And we talked about, it's not much better if they use paper. So again, this is very similar to the straw placard, where we would just ask, see what businesses might be interested in just putting a sign up saying, we encourage you to bring your own bag. Plastic does whatever and paper does whatever. And And in this case, it was just one simple sign that was up, near the cash register, where of course that would be where you would get your bag. So it seems like it would be a lot easier than, and this would go to like the little shops in town. So it might not be the same group of businesses as we're going at for the straw thing. These are businesses that are probably in addition to restaurants. And from what we talked about before, most of the businesses, if not all, in Rehoboth are too small to be regulated by the plastic bag state law.
Thank you. Comments? Stuart?
Yeah, very briefly, my conversation with Adam Schlechter from Denrec, saying he had very interesting take on this. He said the best bags for them are these bags that they've come up with that help the bigger establishments for the ban on the really thin plastic bags that they've now been outlawed. Is there's a 2.25 mil bag, which is just a tiny bit stronger, but Denrec is able to positively put that in a landfill, and Delaware has a 200 years worth of landfill space if used efficiently. So he liked that, but he said the absolute best material for those reusable bags is commercial hemp, because that stuff is very strong, and of course it is totally able to go into a landfill and decompose properly. So very short comment, but that guy really is. He's got a lot of interest. And I think the educational component on the bags, as we've stated for the last months, is a price per bag for any bag that a person is using. There's nothing more powerful in an educational component than a charge for a bag.
Okay, very good. Is this an item that we can continue discussion at the April meeting to see what, if anything, we want to do? Okay, I want to give Heather and everyone a little bit of time on the dark skies. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. And thank you, Mary, for staying on this and paying attention to it. And we'll try to get maybe some more detailed information out to everyone before the next meeting. So, I asked Heather if she would be willing to look again at the dark skies, at the motion we passed, at the international website, and she did, and sent me a lot of information a week ago, and particularly learned that there's an important date coming up on the calendar that we may want to do something about. So with that, Heather, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Fun stuff first. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. What I found out when I did some research, two important things. The first one is that the city doesn't currently have an ordinance that would give the dark skies ideas any enforceability. There isn't really anything on the books. So that kind of leaves it open. And I did some research with the Dark Skies website, and they have a proposed ordinance, they call it a model ordinance, that we probably could edit and massage into our own ordinance. So that's something that I would propose that we begin to work on. I think, Jan, I don't know if you got my email, but I asked if maybe that would be something you'd want to work with us on. But we would certainly want, and I don't know how this works, Commissioner Byrne, you probably have to give us some advice, but we want to do that if the mayor and commissioners weren't thinking that that would be something that they would want to entertain, because it would take a lot of work to get this model ordinance adapted for Rehoboth. So I don't know how we would get sort of a read from them about whether we should proceed or not. I have a motion, I can read that, we can go that direction. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I found out from the Dark Skies site is that April 5th through April 12th is International Dark Sky Week. And there's a whole bunch of really great information on their website. And I would really love for us to be able to get the word out. The first motion that we suggested regarding the lights on the boardwalk is sort of dead in the water because that ship has sailed, according to what happened at the commissioners meeting. So I just think this would be a really great positive way to get the message out. And I'm wondering if, and I included this in the motion as well, if the city of Rehoboth Beach would be willing to advertise that with a link to the Dark Skies website on their information that they send out to all the residents. Of course, everybody would have to be supportive of that. A couple of things that we could include in that is just obviously that it's Dark Skies Week, April 5th through 12th, and a couple of simple steps that you could take. 3 things we could list is to take a moment to inspect your property for inefficient, poorly installed, and unnecessary outdoor lighting. Second thing is replace old lighting with dark sky friendly lighting at your home and business. And a third is to visit a dark sky place or park, and there's a list of them on their website. So I just thought that was a really positive thing that we could get out to the community and sort of raise awareness for this and maybe generate some interest for going forward with an ordinance. So I'll leave it up into discussion or question.
Thanks, Heather. Yeah, and there's several kind of segments to what you've talked about. And I think it's best that we don't mix them together and try to do all of them, or we're not going to get, my sense is, very far, very, very fast. And maybe the lowest hanging fruit is to kind of support this concept of International Dark Sky Week in early April, and that here are 3 things that people can easily do. I like that idea. Have you put that into a motion for us?
I can read it if you want.
Would you please?
Okay. Well, do you guys have any more questions or anything before we go to that?
Stuart?
Yeah, Heather, you mentioned something about that ship has sailed. Can you clarify?
Oh,
please?
so at our meeting when I first introduced the motion for the Dark Skies proposal, it was having to do specifically with the lights that are going to be replaced on the boardwalk by Verizon.
Okay,
that didn't go anywhere. So that
Well, it's not over yet, Heather. It's not.
No,
it's
no,
not over.
No, it's not over. Is Kevin Williams still on with us? Kevin is the Director of Public Works, and he could give us a brief update on where things are at with Verizon. I heard his update with the Beach and Boardwalk Committee on Monday morning, and that would be helpful for everyone to hear.
Sure, and it has changed since Monday's briefing to the Beach and Boardwalk Committee, in that we just today received 5 revised applications for the cell towers, cell sites using the poles on the boardwalk.
But do they have dark sky lights on them, Kevin?
No, they do not. Do not. It's a replace in kind to what's there now.
And
so
there was
nothing that deals with dark sky compliant lighting design.
That's correct. Now, if you recall from the commissioners meeting, we did have that the lighting guy that was on the call noted that they were in design, trying to design or engineer and design a dark sky compliant fixture that matched those typical globe fixtures that we have out there. So I don't know whether that has actually been done yet, but as of a month or so ago, it had not.
Well, Kevin, this is Jan, and I just will point out that Jay and I talked to one of the dark sky people, and they showed us several examples of globes that were similar to what we have on the boardwalk. They're not exactly like it because they have to have well, you can't see the things at the top to prevent it from going up.
Sure.
And so, okay, anyway, I think they are available. It's just if they want to use them, and we don't seem to have that ability to require them to use them.
Well, our direction to them has been to match existing. So if your committee and the Beach and Boardwalk Committee and the commissioners say, well, we're not as interested now in matching, we want to get as close as we can and it be dark sky compliant, then we could ask them to do that. But right now the direction is, match existing.
I guess I thought at the meeting that there was a lot of discussion a couple months ago when we made the dark sky presentation, that I thought that was the end result of the meeting that they were going to try. So I must have totally misunderstood the mayor and commissioners, because I thought the direction they were giving was that they wanted them to match, they wanted them to be dark sky compliant. but I might have misunderstood. So,
Well, that was my understanding.
Perspective, I thought that everybody would like them to be, sure. But which takes precedent on the 15 or 18, they're trying to do this summer? Is it match the existing, or is to get 18 dark sky compliant, and they'll be somewhat different than the other 30, on the boardwalk? So I think the direction at that point in time was just match what they're doing, get them to be the exact. And if we come up with a dark compliant, if we want to be as a city dark sky compliant, and we come up with that program and implement it, then, we'd be replacing, 18 that may get done this year. But if we get the dark sky compliant policy and procedures in place, then, if they come up with 18 next year, then we would, then try to, maybe the decision would be go ahead and replace all the globes and make them dark sky compliant.
well, I thought we were doing it just the opposite. We were going to make these dark sky compliant, and then as we replace the lights on the boardwalk over time, then they would become dark sky compliant as we replace them. But I guess we can't left the meeting with different understandings. So, okay.
Sure.
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin, just quickly, is this item on the commissioner's agenda? There's something related to this, isn't there?
Not for this Friday, I don't believe.
Not for this Friday. Okay. Okay. Well, it's another big topic, and I would like to deal with what I call the lower hanging fruit, and that is, the motion dealing with the International Dark Sky Week. But Nettie, you had your hand up. I don't want to.
Just
I could just say one thing that we talked with at the boardwalk committee as well. If the city's wants to move forward with becoming dark sky compliant, we had the program in the budget last year, and we had it sequenced out to replace basically all the lights that we own down Rehoboth Avenue, the median lights, the pole lights on the sidewalks, and the boardwalk lights, to transition into LED lights that could be controlled. So if that's, we're probably going to move forward with that next year in the budget, because we had a lot of folks really want to do it, but we wanted to give time for this to play out. If that is what the city wants to do, to become dark sky compliant, then we want to know that and do that. So when we do the LED upgrades or transitions, we can incorporate that into that plan as well. Which kind of played into why we kind of delayed the LEDs until this whole dark sky thing plays out, and get those decisions made prior to replacing a lot of light fixtures.
Well, you weren't here in 2010, Kevin, but this is when we brought this to the boardwalk committee. This is something from the 2010 CDP, is that we become a dark sky community. So it was just something that never got implemented back in 2010. but certainly, that was the reason for raising it again, was to go through and try to pick out some of these items that needed to be accomplished. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kevin, and thank you, Jen. Let's go to Heather now on the other topic, as the clock is ticking here. Thank you.
All right, well, I will then separate the motion into two parts. I think that's a great idea. And given that April 5th through 12th is before our next meeting, I'm going to go ahead and read the motion, and maybe we can vote on it, because otherwise we'll have to wait till next year. So I move that the City of Rehoboth Beach advertise to all residents that April 5th through April 12th is International Dark Sky Week. Excessive use of artificial light, known as light pollution, can have serious environmental consequences for humans, wildlife, and our climate. And then www.darksky.org, so that the link is included with the advertisement, has great information on simple things everyone can do to help. You can start by minimizing the light from your own home at night. And a few simple steps would be the three things that I just said previously, and that's the motion. The rest was the other part.
Okay, Heather's made a motion. Before we discuss further, is there a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, let's open it to discussion. Nettie, you're muted. There you go.
Yeah. Just real quickly, I just wish that we could strike while the iron is hot. And, get Verizon or whatever the company is that's doing these 5Gs to save the city money and to, be responsible for doing the new upgrades. And
Okay.
I
think,
just-
Nettie,
guess-
excuse me. We really need to speak to this motion that's in front of us right now.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, there's a motion, it's seconded. Any other comments? Okay, all of you that are in favor of this motion, please raise your hand, wave. Anyone against? Okay, I see it unanimous. Thank you, Heather. What I will do is, I do have an opportunity on the Friday agenda to make a brief report on the Environment Committee at the Commissioners meeting. And I will do my best to get this as part of it. Can't promise that, but I will do my best. And I know time is obviously of the essence because April 5th is right around the corner. It is 12:01, and I'm sorry that we are out of time, but I want to be very respectful. This takes a lot of work with our staff at City Hall to support this virtual meeting. So I want to thank all of you for participating today, for the homework that you've done. We'll do some homework in advance of next month. We will be in touch. I want to thank both Jan and Kevin Williams for their involvement, their support, their input today. And with that said, is there a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very, very much. We will be in touch. Appreciate all of your good work and discussion.
Thank you, Dick.
Have a happy St. Patty's Day.